In this lesson, we'll talk about making an array in Java, and then we're going to print the array. This is pretty much the simplest array that you could make. An array is a simple list, like a to-do list or a grocery list. Today we're going to make a grocery list. The items on our list will have a position, just like a grocery list might have a position. In this case, we have 5 items. We have 5 positions. But unlike a grocery list, the numbers don't start at 1. They start at 0. So an array that has 5 items has elements numbered from 0 to 4. In NetBeans, you start a project by clicking on the icon in the upper left-hand corner. This is the icon that looks like a folder with a plus sign over it. Then in the left-hand window, you select Java. The right-hand window, you select Java Application, and then choose the Next button. When the next screen comes up, you name your project. In this case, I named it Array Sample, and hit Finish. I've shown the windows here. Once you've started a project, your program should appear in your window, and it should look very simple. I've removed the comments to make it even simpler. There are 2 simple steps to making an array. The first step is to declare it, and the second step is to initialize it. Java allows you to do these steps separately or in one simple line. Here we're just going to use the simpler method. We're going to declare a string array, which is an array of names, called grocery, and then we're going to initialize it with milk, bread, bacon, eggs, and detergent. At this point, we've created the array. And what that means is that the computer has set aside enough memory to store that array and attached the label grocery to that memory. There's just enough data set aside for 5 strings to be put into that memory. Now the initializations of these, or the declarations of these, could have been not strings. They could have been integers, or they could have been doubles. They could have been anything. So any class can create an array. So you can have an array of any type of data. So you could have a class that you created that was a dog class, and you could then create 5 dogs in an array. That's fine. You can also have strings, doubles, integers, any sort of number. If I tested my program at this point, it would do absolutely nothing. So now we print the array. Arrays and for loops are used together. If you're doing anything with arrays, you will normally have for loops. Now remember that the list started at 0. So we're going to use this 0-based notation as we go through each element of that list. So that means every item on the list, and print it out. Here's the whole program so that you can look at it all in one place. All we did is create an array, initialize that array with 5 different values. Then in the for loop, we print out each element of that array using a counter of the for loop as the index item. So that counter will count from 0 to 4 to print out 5 items in an array. And here's what the output looks like. As you can see in your output window, we have milk, bread, bacon, eggs, and detergent displaying. If you like this session, I intend to do 2 more sessions on arrays, including the topic of entering data into an array with a for loop, which is a common activity with a for loop, and then also do a second session on how to share the same index between 2 different lists. If you have 2 lists that are related, like for instance 5 grocery items and 5 prices associated with those items, they might be linked by a shared index.